was about to say YouTube isn't normally that slow, but sometimes it can be. Anyway, once again, it's your boy M.K.S here, back in another video. And once again, konnichiwa, and apologies to anyone from Japan if I butcher the pronunciation. I normally only speak English, and even that I don't speak very well. I think when I was younger, my mum tried to teach me some Punjabi or Hindi, but it didn't really work. My middle name is actually Indian. It means poet in English. It's actually Hindi, I believe. Cover it. But nice life story. I probably shouldn't give too much info away. I certainly don't like to give my address away online and that kind of thing. But anyway, welcome to part 2. I was hoping to make about 6 videos today, and I'm only on the second one, and it's already almost 11:15, so I'm way behind schedule as per usual. But I'll see how it goes. So these are pointers number 11 to 20 as per usual. And I'm going to leave the intro with a question, which is, what would you do to empower Asia, or how do you think Asia could be empowered? In other words, what steps do you think Asia could do to maybe unite and be empowered? I think things like being united, having peace with each other. I prefer libertarianism and improving the quality of life, and also, as I say, having peace with each other, unity, helping each other with trade and networking together, that kind of thing. But I'd love to know what you think as ever. And here, so number 11, I'd love to support Asian inventors, ideas people, entrepreneurs, investors, and whatnot, and look at how they can be empowered, what they can learn from each other and others, and that kind of thing. I must have wrong again there. Asian innovation and that kind of thing, and also what Asia could change to improve. What could it do to improve? And another thing is, I'd love for Asia to learn about disability rights, and what they can learn again from the rest of the world. Like, what does Britain do well to have? What human rights or things does Britain or America or whatever else do well, and what does it not do so well, or what does it have and what does it not have so good, or whatever. And I was thinking initially I was thinking of neurodiversity awareness, and also mental health awareness, but also physical disabilities, I guess, so disability generally, and human rights, looking after the poor and that kind of thing, animal rights, which I'll come to. And for me personally, a controversial one, perhaps rather controversial, but I believe in looking after younger people more than older people. Although I think if they're so old and infirm, if they're so old and frail, infirm or whatever, then I think it is important to look after the less able or less fortunate, perhaps, I guess. Although I don't really believe in socialism or communism, but if someone is so old and they become disabled or whatever, then I think we should look after them. I don't believe in the saying. I know I say this quite a lot, but it's my least favourite saying. In fact, respect your elders. And I like to think, without being a hypocrite, even as I'm getting old myself, as I'm getting older, unfortunately, and old even, where I am quite old already, I still wouldn't. I wouldn't want to change just because I'm getting older to say, actually, now, funny enough, as I'm old, I do believe in respect your elders. I'd be a big hypocrite. And I try not to be hypocritical, if I can help it. But yeah, looking at what, say, for instance, people often look at what, say, someone with dyslexia or autism or dyspraxia or dysgraphia or dyscalculia or ADHD or whatever other conditions can't do. But I think it would be good to look at what they can do, and even maybe just because someone's in a wheelchair, that probably doesn't mean there's other things they can't do. But yeah, I know people have limitations, but looking at what they can do. I mean, some people probably haven't heard of terms like dysgraphia, which is difficulty with handwriting, dyscalculia, difficulty with maths and things like that, and other conditions like that. So again, awareness, maybe learning about those conditions. I guess it'd be hard to be dyscalculic in Asia, around and across Asia, but yeah, that must be difficult, especially, I suppose they're called invisible disabilities, so if you don't look disabled as well. Anyway, I'm going to move on, talking about being behind schedule. Number 12, I'd love for Asians to talk about what makes them proud to be Asian, not in an arrogant way, but what Asia, and I'll mention it in part 1, but what Asia has contributed to the world, like even in terms of inventions, businesses, exports, like cars, people love thinking about Japan, like Nissan, Toyota, Honda, and other cars, Hyundai from Korea, um, and many other great things in technology. Off the top of my head, I can't really think of too many, um, but yeah, what Asians have achieved with their work ethic and some positive views on Asian and stereotypes of Asia, perhaps positive stereotypes, if there is such a thing. Um, but yeah, what Asia has achieved, and hopefully with momentum, what it can achieve, and I think it could achieve a lot more if they were united. But I know I already talked about it, so I'm going to move on to point number 13. I'd love to see what Asians can contribute to the town football teams, and I'll mention that quite a lot as a selfish person. I like to think I'm not selfish mainly, but I do have some selfish dreams, including benefiting a town football. Like if I had a lot of money, by some miracle, there's two selfish things I think I would buy. One, or spend my money on. One would be whatever benefits the town football, and the other would be junk food, that kind of thing. But other than that, I don't think I'd have any other selfish purchases. A lot of my money would go towards Asia, helping people in Asia, helping younger people start their own businesses. I'd love to fund that sort of thing. I'll something like that much later. So I didn't mean to mention that point number 13 because I don't want to jinx it, as I feel 13 is unlucky. I'd also love for Asians to talk about scary stories, creepypastas, urban legends, and making horror movies, thrillers, and things like that. Although romantic movies would probably be horror movies to me because I'm not a big fan of romance. Don't really like action movies either, really, but not too keen on them. I find them a bit over dramatic, perhaps, maybe. Although I probably can be dramatic myself. But I'd love to see what Asians can do for football teams like AC Monza, Inter Milan, and of course AC Milan, Roma, and other Italian teams. That how they can help. I talked about like teams like AC Monza, Inter Milan, AC Milan, Roma, and other Italian teams, including junior teams, youth teams, school teams, and whatnot, going to Asia, traveling to Asia, and that kind of thing, from Milan and across Italy, all over Italy, Milan, Turin, and elsewhere. But in terms of AC Milan, I would also love to see how they could get more investment and sponsorship from Asia, as well as doing tours of Asia and that kind of thing. They can have academies and sports clubs. Again, I love for that for all Italian teams, but in terms of helping AC Milan have a scary team, like investment, acquiring investment from Alibaba, the Adani Group, AirAsia perhaps, and others, um, especially from Asia, but also around the world as well. I know I'm focusing mainly on Asia. Um, and as I say, sports clubs and academies and that kind of thing, whilst also developing some good Italian talented players. So I think like made in Milan, how can Milan make or create or produce great players as well, from Milan itself, but also helping Asian football development, soccer or whatever you want to call it. I say, and something else I was saying, I completely forgot. I would. I talked before about how I'd love to. I know I'm trying to stick on topic about Asia, but how I'd love to react to scary videos and maybe even make my own uh, scary movies, and things like that. And I've even heard of like scary songs, creepy songs with creepy lyrics, or that kind of thing. Creepy music videos, scary music videos, and that kind of thing. Um, Scary, creepy, macabre, and that kind of thing. And I was thinking as I was talking about scary, I saw my cat, and I didn't know what that was. A little bit freaked out there. But yeah, before I move on to point number 14, as I say, I would love to see. But yeah, even if I could go to Asia in the future and help with projects like helping horror movies, thrillers, helping to make or create horror movies and thrillers and that kind of thing in the future, that'd be pretty cool to direct movies and help to produce movies and that kind of thing. But yeah, if I react to scary movies and or make my own horror movies, I'd love to donate any monies I make to AC Milan to help them to have a scary team, which I think would be quite fitting, as AC Milan was founded by an English guy, and the idea was when as he lived in Italy, he said we'll play in black and red, and what we call the Devils will be a team that of the Devils that put fear into our opposition, and so playing black and red. But moving on to point number 14, I hope Asians can work together to solve problems. Number 15, I hope they can make even more money and grow their economies, and support each other's ambitions, as I talked about before, including part one. Number 16, once again, I'd love to know what are the best ways to help Asian economies to grow so they can make even more money. I love to support Asian banks, businesses generally, and that kind of thing. Again, the movie and music industries, Asian models, and all sorts of projects that benefit Asia, all about Asia and that kind of thing. Maybe I thought that could be a good YouTube title, I guess, a YouTube channel, even all about Asia. Could be a title for a video and or even a channel and on TikTok or whatnot, but like all about Asia. What do you think? But yeah, hopefully I'll be too harsh. Number 17, I'd love to see how Asians can use their imagination. I say imagination Mondays, so I take the eye of the words for some reason, but yeah, imagination Mondays. But yeah, how they can use their imagination to make stories and things like what they could make and create. Thinking about that, I'd love to support their manufacturing industries and see what they can make and create and that kind of thing. And yeah, Asians being encouraged to use their imagination to think outside the box. Going back to dyslexia awareness and all that kind of thing, dyslexics and probably people with ADHD as well, and even autistic people probably can use imagination to create great things. A lot of time those conditions overlap. I'd love for Asian nations to host events to raise awareness of such, and even invite, say, dyslexic and or ADHD entrepreneurs and have events like the Dyslexic Advantage events made by Dyslexia and other such events to show what dyslexics can contribute and how, like say, even though dyslexics struggle academically, they can be good in other areas, including the movie industry, music, in some cases, entrepreneurship and things like that. I'm sure similar with ADHD, autism and whatnot, especially when it comes to autism, especially in tech and that kind of thing. Number 18, I'd love to know about positive things about Asia, what they've contributed to the world already in terms of inventions, entrepreneurship and all sorts of things, and therefore with momentum, what they can contribute in the future, what they even contribute now and what they can contribute in the future. Number 19, maybe they could help partnerships with Africa and look at what they have in common to help African tech and Africans in STEM and that kind of thing. Or as I call it on Monday, METS, so I put it in the opposite order. So maths, engineering, tech and science, where I add English language and entrepreneurship. I guess it'd be easy if everyone spoke English, it'd be much easier to communicate. Or maybe not. And number 20, again, as I said in part 1 and I've said before, and I suppose I said it in this video included, I'm not a big fan of, in fact, I'll say it's my least favourite saying, the saying respect your elders. So that's one thing about Asia, just like I said in part 1, that I wouldn't be too keen on. I'm just hoping I didn't forget anything. But yeah, normally I prefer helping younger people, who I think are the future, or at least a large and significant part of the future. And I think, I suppose I'd love to help younger people more because I think they need to have good opportunities. And also, I think this is a bit harsh, but older people have sort of had their life, so I think it's good to give young people the opportunity to have their life and to be children and enjoy life as well, and to be encouraged to reach their full potential at the same time. And also, I suppose another reason why I prefer to support younger people rather than older people is because, whether that's in Asia or elsewhere, is because most of society seems to say respect your elders, and that means do what they say and look after the elders. So I suppose to redress the balance, I've heard help young people for that reason as well. So it's to redress the balance, and because I think they are the future, or at least a large and significant part of it. And we need the younger people to look after us when we get older, and so I think we should respect them. And someone who doesn't respect young people, I think, if they don't respect their children or whatever, or their nieces and nephews, I think they don't deserve the same respect back when they get older and need those people. I think the younger people should treat the elders as the elders treated them when they were young. And again, I guess because they haven't had their life yet, I think they should, older people have their life, so to speak, to an extent. So I think younger people should be supported more, but that's my personal opinion. But yeah, that's one part of Asia. There's probably a lot of things I wouldn't like about Asia as well. But yeah, I still hope to support and empower them. But anyway, on that note, oh yeah, I forgot to say point number 17. I mentioned about how I'd love for them to host events to bring dyslexic entrepreneurs and people with dyslexia in their chosen field who have done well to Asia, to show what dyslexic people can do in spite of the difficulties we we have academically, not me myself, but many other dyslexics who have done well. And similar with ADHD, autism, and whatnot, like autistic people might not necessarily be as sociable or not understand people as well, but they can be good at other things. And similar with ADHD, if they can't sit still in a classroom, but they can still do well and be a disruptive entrepreneur. And maybe Asia is missing out on those opportunities if they don't find out that actually ADHDers do have strengths, similar to autistics and ADHDers, which means people have both. But yeah, if you're in a very academic place, where most countries in Asia are academic, so if you're not good academically, you struggle. I know that's similar around the world, but especially in Asia. Whereas if they find actually someone who's dyslexic might not be very good at school, but they can be really good at business, as they or other areas. And something else I was going to say, I've completely forgotten. But yeah, one thing I was going to say is I'd love for them to host events for dyslexic, ADHD, and autistic millionaires or even billionaires. I think I was going to say autistics might not struggle so much academically, but they might struggle in other areas of like socializing. And some might have connected conditions, so they might have autism and ADHD, as they call it, ADHD, or autism and dyslexia, or whatever, or dyspraxia. So they can be, I think they call it comorbid. That sounds a bit harsh. That sounds a bit morbid, but these terms like diagnosis, it sounds so negative, but I think they are very. There are some positive traits to such, even like mental illness, like the method to the madness, creativity, and that kind of thing. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling, and I'm out. And peace and love.